Welcome. This presentation will be about quality management in organizations within the framework of standardized management systems, prepared by Olkiewicz, Dykskowska, Chamiaglis-Gzinski and Krolikowski, from Koszalin University of Technology in Poland. The presentation will proceed in the following order. At the beginning, a short introduction in the area of quality management will be presented, then the research methodology will be presented, then, the simulation model will be indicated along with the identification of its parameters, then the model verification will be shown. Finally, the brief conclusions will be announced. Attempts were made to objectify the concept of quality in the aspect of work as the effect of work, good, service, work process, in the strict sense, a set of activities, the method of management and management, elements supporting or determining the benefit, that is work tools, raw materials, products or semi-finished products, workstation, etc., as well as the quality of life. A comprehensive approach to quality as part of quality management, in particular, analyses of factors determining it and effects. This is possible through the development of management standards, processes and procedures that take into account market, legal and economic requirements, etc. The essence of the implemented changes is the pursuit of perfection, and the stakeholders' satisfaction and loyalty, reliability, functionality, and improvement have become symbols of quality personalization. The need for continuous improvement of quality, and thus, among others, increase in efficiency and effectiveness, and competitiveness of the organization, are met through the implementation of activities, including process mapping, showing the hierarchy of processes ensuring the proper functioning and development of the organization, appropriate planning, verification and monitoring of activities, results and optimization of the processes implemented as part of the management system. Broadly understanding the essence of applying system standards, it should be remembered that they are obligatory, required and applied in connection with the specificity, specialization of activities or a legal requirement, and optional, used voluntarily in order to obtain benefits. Quality management within formalized systems is based on the requirements and guidelines of International ISO International Standardizing Organization standards, which include identification of all processes as they are important for the quality management system, determining the dependencies of individual processes taking place in the quality management system, parameterization of processes, that is identification of criteria, measures, indicators, continuous improvement, targeting market stakeholders by meeting requirements and expectations, identification and minimization of risk, building quality awareness among market stakeholders who have a guarantee that a given organization is constantly operating. In Poland, the most widespread voluntary quality management systems from the ISO family of standards include ISO 9001, Quality Management System, ISO 14001, Environmental Management System, ISO 18001, Occupational Health and Safety Management Systems, ISO 22000, Food Safety Management Systems, ISO 27001, Information Security Management System, ISO 13485, Quality Management System for Manufacturers of Medical Devices, ISO TS 16949, Quality Management System for the Automotive Industry. The main task of standardized quality management systems is to create the possibility of standardizing the procedure as part of the process operation, resulting in the repeatability of production and service provision and the possibility of achieving the appropriate, expected level of quality, consistent with the organization's capabilities and acceptable by stakeholders. The article focuses on the area of quality management in organizations within standardized management systems. The aim of the research was to identify and assess the effectiveness of standardized quality management systems in organizations in Central Pomerania using a logistic regression model. The following hypothesis was put forward for the study: there is an effectiveness of standardized management systems. The source of data were the results of 2 surveys conducted among 1,623 business entities of the Central Pomeranian region in Poland. For the statistical analysis, data collected in surveys among business entities of the Central Pomeranian region in Poland were used. The first study, B1, covered 516 subjects, while the second study, B2, involved 1,107 subjects. The study was carried out in 19 types of business activity, according to the economic sector. Most entities were classified in trade and retail activities, B1 17.91%, B2 10.95%, other service activities, B1 16.54%, B2 20.26%, manufacturing B1 15.55%, B2 21.90%. In addition, 11 quality management systems were distinguished as part of the study, including 6 individual ones, including ISO 9001, ISO 14001, PNN 18001, ISO 27001, ISO 22000 and HACCP, as well as 5 integrated ones, that is integrated ISO 9001 with ISO 14001, ISO 9001 with ISO 22000, ISO 9001 with PNN 18001, ISO 9001 with ISO 14001 and PNN 18001 and ISO 9001 with ISO 27001. The probability, logit, model of effectiveness of standardized management systems, MESMS, was built. The models were subjected to research processes, including optimization, where each time a given state was assumed as a success and the rest of the states as a failure. It should also be emphasized that the variables were subjected to the coding process, 0 or 1, as this results from the nature of the variables. To assess the probability of effectiveness of standardized management systems, average -1, high -2, lack of effectiveness 3, low 4, the following set of characteristics was adopted. X1 The frequency of assessment of the quality management system is appropriate for the enterprise, yes 1, no 2. X2 The most important quality measure for the company is stakeholder satisfaction -1, quality of products or services -2, timeliness -3, comprehensiveness of service -4, availability -5, repeatability -6, service culture -7, standardization -8, professional staff -9, price 10. X3 During the development of procedures, employees of a given area of the company's activity actively participated in their creation, yes 1, no 2. Based on the survey, a probability, logit, model was built, which for the dependent variable y and a specific set of independent variables x1, x2, x3. As a result of the analysis, an initial model was created for the first test, B1, described by the following parameters. Although the above model turned out to be statistically significant in understanding the whole model, the independent variable x3 was statistically insignificant. This meant that this variable could be excluded from the model. As a result, a second model was created to describe this phenomenon. Comparing both models with regard to the information criterion, A and B coefficients, the second model is a better model. This is due to the fact that the information criterion prefers the simplest models. That is, models that have a minimum number of independent variables while taking into account the fit of this model. Although its predictive power has slightly decreased, about 2%, it still describes a well-studied relationship. When analyzing individual versions of the multi-level model, it should be noted that both models quite clearly indicate the impact of the variables on the probabilities under study. With the initial, first, model, if the x1 variable was yes, the x2 variable was stakeholder satisfaction, and the x3 variable was yes, then the probability of a positive assessment of the respondents was 99.59%. When the state of variable x1 changed from yes to no and the remaining variables remained unchanged, this probability decreased to the level of 92.26%, that is by approximately 7.33%. Similarly, when analyzing changes for other variables, a decrease in this probability can be expected. This is evidenced by the negative values of coefficients I, with the worst combination of answers, x1 no, x2 price and x3 no. The probability of a positive assessment of the effectiveness of standardized quality management systems, SQMS, in the organization is only 42.59%. For the final multi-level MESMS2 model, a similar relationship was obtained, with variable x1 equal to yes and variable x2 equal to stakeholder satisfaction. the probability of a positive assessment is 99.46%. If the x1 variable changes its state to no and the other variables do not change, this probability will decrease to the level of 89.17%, so there was a decrease by approximately 10.29%. As before, the weakest probabilities of a positive assessment of the SQMS effectiveness were obtained for extreme values, that is, x1 no, x2 price. The probability of a positive assessment at the level of 48.62%. In the case of the second test, B2, the MESMS baseline model is described by the following parameters. As in the case of study B1, the model turned out to be statistically significant in understanding the whole model. The independent variable x3 was statistically insignificant. This meant that a similar procedure was performed as in study B1 and a second MESMS2 model was obtained describing this phenomenon. Comparing both models with regard to the information criterion, A and big coefficients, it should be pointed out that the second multi-level MESMS2 model, similarly to the previous one, is a better model. However, due to the information criterion in this study, it was possible to exclude a second variable, thanks to which the final model was described by the following quantities. Comparing the information criterion from the second, MESMS2, and third, MESMS3, models, the obtained results are ambiguous. For the second model, the A coefficient was lower than for the third model, and the big coefficient was vice versa. In addition, the MESMS3 model obtained was not convergent optimal in relation to the B1 study, therefore in this case the second model, MESMS2, was taken into account, which became the basic and optimal model describing the well-studied relationship. And its predictive ability is similar, difference by 0.08%, to the output model. When analyzing the individual versions of the model, it should be noted that both indicate quite clearly the impact of the variables on the probabilities under study. With the multi-level MESMS initial model, if the x1 variable was yes, the x2 variable was stakeholder satisfaction, and the x3 variable was yes, then the probability of a positive assessment of the respondents was 97.62%. When the state of variable x1 changed from yes to no and the remaining variables remained unchanged, this probability decreased to the level of 88.36%. That is by approximately 9.26%. Similarly, when analyzing changes for other variables, a decrease in this probability can be expected. This is evidenced by the negative values of coefficients I. With the worst combination of answers, x1 no, x2 price and x3 no, the probability of a positive assessment of the effectiveness of the quality management system in the organization is 70.32%. For the optimal model MESMS2, a similar relationship was obtained. With variable x1 equal to yes and variable x2 equal to stakeholder satisfaction, the probability of a positive assessment is 97.46%. If the x1 variable changes its state to no and the other variables do not change, this probability will decrease to the level of 87.83%. Therefore there will be a decrease of approximately 9.63%. As before, the lowest probability was obtained for the extreme values, that is, x1 no, x2 price. The probability of a positive assessment is then 72.52%. On the other hand, for the third model, MESMS3, a similar dependence was obtained for the x1 variable equal to the value yes. The probability of a positive assessment is 96.72%. If the x1 variable changes its state to the value no, this probability will decrease to 82.27%. Therefore there will be a decrease by approximately 14.45%. As part of the conducted study, as well as the evaluation of the results obtained, it can be indicated that both in the B2 and B2 studies, the hypothesis can be upheld. In both cases, the developed model is statistically significant, which means that the functioning standardized management systems in the organization are effective at the level of the entire organization and most dependent on the frequency of the assessment. The difference between the two studies in the final models may be due to from the increased population of respondents in study B2, from the increased impact of the x1 variable in relation to the other variables and their greater diversity dispersion in the second study, Analytical research conducted among 1,623 entities from the Central Pomeranian region confirms the results of literature research that standardized management systems are effective in operation. Thank you for your attention.